Good morning and welcome to As Goes Wisconsin. Greg Bach is on the board. Dominic Salvia live in studio. And you can always join us as well at 844-967-2789, 1106. I did pop outside just for a second. It is so nice out.
How nice is it?
It is so nice. The entire back of our building, which faces to the south, is covered with box elder bugs and now ladybugs.
Great.
They're all got their chaise lounges out and they're stretching their wings.
They better enjoy it now. It's not going to last.
Yeah, so enjoy this day if you can get out for lunch or something, or maybe go for a walk. It's beautiful.
They're covering our front door and like front patio area.
Are they?
My wife is like, we were coming inside the house, she goes, go faster. She doesn't want them to get in the house. But when they're in the house, I put them in a cup and I put them back outside. I don't kill them.
What a guy.
I don't need to kill them. They're harmless.
They are harmless.
So let them have their little adventure throughout the rest of the fall.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Pro Insect.
Wouldn't kill a bug.
I'll kill a centipede.
Oh, so there are distinctions. All right, for squishable things. Okay, good to know. Let's talk about flipping like flapjacks, shall we?
Yes.
Wow, it's happening so quickly and so frequently, it's almost hard to keep them straight. Jenna Ellis, a former lawyer for Donald Trump's 2020 campaign, pleaded guilty today to illegally conspiring to overturn Trump's election loss in Georgia. This makes Ms. Ellis the third attorney associated with the former president to take a plea deal in this criminal racketeering case.
Making attorneys get attorneys.
Attorneys, yes, making attorneys get attorneys. We do have some sound from Ms. Ellis when she made her appearance in court this morning. Greg, why don't you fire that off?
Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity to address the court.
Very teary.
As an attorney who is also a Christian,
Whoop.
Oh,
I take my responsibilities as a lawyer very seriously,
Okay.
and I
no.
endeavor to be a person of sound moral and ethical character in all of my dealings. In the wake of the 2020 presidential election, I believed that challenging the results on behalf of President Trump should be pursued in a just and legal way. I endeavored to represent my client to the best of my ability. I relied on others, including lawyers with many more years of experience than I, to provide me with true and reliable information,
Rudy.
especially since my role involved speaking to the media and to legislators in various states. What I did not do, but should have done, Your Honor, was to make sure that the facts the other lawyers alleged to be true were in fact true.
What? No.
In the frenetic pace of attempting to raise challenges to the election in several states, including Georgia, I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse.
Yeah, I bet.
For those failures of mine, Your Honor, I have taken responsibility already before the Colorado bar who censured me, and I now take responsibility before this court.
This deal that Jenna Ellis made allows her to avoid jail time in exchange for giving evidence that could potentially implicate other defendants, including Rudy Giuliani, who is facing 13 charges.
That goes for Sidney Powell and Cheesebros.
Yep.
Cheesebro.
Yep.
Chesbro.
Chesbro. It's Chesbro, but I prefer Cheesebro.
Cheesebro. All these individuals, we talked about this beforehand, and I understand the logic that you laid out, Jane. But I'm gonna bring it up. There's a woman in Texas who wasn't sure if she could vote because she was arrested, and she went in the booth and she told the person, the election official, and the election official said, "Why don't you just fill out a provisional ballot?" So she did. It got pulled. It got flagged. It got pulled, and she went to jail for 5 years. These three people worked their due diligence to try to overthrow an election, and they're getting slaps on the wrist.
Yeah.
Like minimal fines. Like they're like four-figure fines. They're nothing.
Yeah, like $5,000.
Yeah. And to me, there's no reason why they shouldn't be spending a little bit of time in prison for treason.
Well, when Greg and I were talking about this off the air, I'm not a lawyer. I wish I don't know if I wish I were. Anyway, but I'm not a lawyer, but I can only imagine that they gave them these sweet deals in order to get them to flip like a flapjack and provide more information on these other
They
defendants.
are not the ultimate target.
No, they're not.
Ellis pleaded, New York Times, Ellis, 38 years old, pleaded guilty to a charge of aiding and abetting false statements and writings, a felony. The fourth person to plead guilty in the Georgia case agreed to be sentenced to 5 years probation, pay $5,000 in restitution, perform 100 hours of community service, and of course, the apology letter to the citizens of Georgia. That seems to be a constant.
Yeah.
And I get it, Greg and Jane. I mean, it seems like, wow, this is, you look at some of the other crimes, there are crimes, quote unquote, of this person in Georgia who did time for what? Listening to
mistakenly
listening to the people at the ballot, at the polling place.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But again, what is the ultimate goal here? Well, justice is the ultimate goal. And these folks were part of it, but they were there's other. It's Trump, man. It's Trump. This is Trump. This all came from Trump. This has always been Trump.
And Giuliani.
And well, sure, but Giuliani and Trump. It's all Trump.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Trump, Giuliani wouldn't do it. You know,
Right.
but Giuliani wouldn't be, and Ellis wouldn't be, the Kraken lady. So this is all about Trump. And I'm just wondering when does this sink in to the everyday Republican citizens? You know, when does it sink in? I mean, what else do you need? We've seen Fox News has been, guilty, fined or charged, what, $800 million?
Almost $1 billion.
Almost $1 billion. There's still a Smartmatic deal out there as well. And
Yep.
Newsmax is on the hook for $1 billion or more dollars. And what did they do? They lied to their audience.
Yes.
And what did Sidney Powell do? She lied to everybody she talked to. She pled guilty to it. What did Ellis do? She lied. They lied, and they're admitting it now. At some point, does this sink into the Republican electorate? You're victims of a fraud. You are a victim here. And all you got to do is open your eyes and read it and understand it and believe what they're telling you now. Ellis guilty, aiding and abetting false statements. The Kraken lady, and it'll roll up. It'll be Giuliani. It'll be the Newsmax and Fox News. I mean, everything you Republicans look to as a source of information or insight or policy is riddled with lies.
But there is a large portion of that electorate that will stick their fingers in their ears and go, la, 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 la. He's a victim. He's a victim. Everyone picks on him. The entire justice system is corrupt. And as a texter just shot us from the 262, hey, Greg, can you write the Trump rage tweet coming this afternoon when he says Ms. Ellis was just a coffee boy that he never met? Because I'm telling you, MAGAs are already responding to this and calling her an unloyal wench, a disloyal wench.
Wow.
And don't forget, she raised $200,000 for her legal fund that came from most likely Trump supporters.
You know, Dom, you said something just before that you said regular Republican voters. That's the problem, is we have to look at am I trying to get these individuals to vote for Democrats or liberals or whatever? I mean, that's a different discussion, but
sure.
What point, at what group of GOP voters are finally going to say, like, we've had enough? Because the mega loyal are never going, they're gone for good. They're never coming back.
Yes.
So what you have left over, and I hate to say it, are individuals who are like the Robin Vosses and lower, who are like, let's just get some sort of semblance of order here. Like, they're still going to do crazy things, but finding just semi-regular candidates who can run and win and bring some order, is that possible? I don't even know anymore. Or have they poisoned their own well to the point of just, it's terminal?
I think you make a great point. I think they have poisoned their own well. And yes, in many cases, it's going to be terminal. If you want to check in on this, we're talking about Jenna Ellis, the latest flapjack to flip, lawyer for the former President Donald Trump in this racketeering case in Georgia. 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. Texter from the 414. There is a lot of disarray in the Republican Party, but even so, apparently there are enough nonpartisan voters who will vote for Trump that in current polls, he's even with Biden. Given the economy, the obvious dysfunction, the lack of anything getting done in the House, and the fact that many House GOP were involved in the insurrection, I found this both amazing and frightening.
Yes.
Democrats need to do something about this, and they need to do it now.
I mean,
Democrats. I mean, we can't.
Why is it always on the Democrats?
Right, to fix what the Republicans. It's not up to the Democrats under Hakeem Jeffries. They've been very, very in line and in focus on what they want. You know what they want? They want Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House. It's the Republicans who can't get their act together.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to recognize when we talk about all these lies and things that are now what I would consider facts. Jenna Ellis admitted this in a court of law.
Yes.
So did Sidney Powell, right? I mean, so did Kenneth Cheesebro in a court of law. Fox News convicted in a court of law. We'll see what happens with Newsmax in a court of law. But these are things that we can rely on. We can look back and say, look, you were deceived. So I think from a matter of for me to be able to deal with a person of goodwill who obviously not everyone thinks alike. Man, I've voted for all sorts of people in parties in my life.
Right.
But I always look for people of goodwill. And if you can't recognize and accept what they are now telling and admitting to, you're kind of lost. And I want them to get a sense of self-respect. I want them to have that BS meter to know that, listen, what they're telling you isn't true. And you may not believe that or think that what Dominic says is righteous as far as what policies, legal weed, or whatever the case may be. That's fine. But I'm not BSing you. This is part of their plan. I mean, that's the strategy. It's shameful.
It is shameful. 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. John from the Falls says, so what Jenna Ellis is really saying is that if she had known the coup was going to fail, she wouldn't have done it.
Oh, that's always the thing is I apologize now because you got caught.
Well, yes, it's called FAFO. And
fart around and find out.
Or a different version of that. We're coming up against the break. We will be right back. I hope you'll stay with us. You're listening to As Goes Wisconsin. We are on the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bright. Greg Bach is on the board. Dominic Salvia live in studio with me. And you can always check in as well. Call or text 844-967-2789. If you're watching the live stream, you can leave comments right there and we will see those as well. We're talking about the latest Donald Trump attorney to flip like a flapjack once they were called into court. Jenna Ellis became the latest, copping a plea deal in Georgia, expressing her regrets for ever having gotten involved in Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
If I knew then what I know now.
Oh, if only. And now, of course, Donald Trump's hardcore supporters are not very happy with Ms. Ellis.
What?
Shocking.
I know. Laura Loomer, we could do a whole segment on her. Laura Loomer says Ellis's plea has confirmed her view she is a disloyal wench who has been stealing from Trump supporters by asking them for money to help pay her bills. Another guy, Alex.
Wait, Trump steals from Trump supporters to ask to pay his bills.
Steve Bannon stole from Trump supporters to build the wall that never got built.
But man, that boat's nice.
And then he got pardoned. So he can actually use that boat that he got with donations from Donald Trump supporters. And this never seems to faze anybody. Supporter Alexander Shepard says Ellis should return all the money that she raised from MAGA supporters. I don't know how anyone can trust her after this. He's another guy.
After this.
After this. It's all about the money, not about the content.
No.
Not what she admitted to, the fraud, the lies. No, not
That's
that.
all fine.
It's the money. That's the problem.
Another guy, Derek Evans, who served prison time for storming the Capitol on January 6th, said he can forgive her for pleading guilty to stay out of jail, but not for throwing Donald Trump under the bus.
Well, we don't know yet because she'll have to testify, perhaps.
Perhaps. And again, I'm assuming that this is why all three of them, Jenna Ellis, Kenneth Chesbrough, and Sidney Kraken Powell, all got such relatively light sentences, $5,000 in a fine and couple hundred hours of community service.
Yeah, but that apology letter to the citizens of Georgia, I mean, that's the doozy.
And does every resident get a copy?
I want a signed copy. I want original signed.
Handwritten.
Notarized
copies. That would be great.
Come to my door and read it to me.
We played some of the sound, but I just want to say this again from the report in the New York Times, a quote from Ellis. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this experience with deep remorse. For those failures of mine, Your Honor, I've taken responsibility already. before the Colorado bar who censured me, and now I take responsibility before this court and apologize to the people of Georgia. But then they go on to say in March, again, New York Times, Ellis admitted in a sworn statement in Colorado, her home state, that she had knowingly misrepresented the facts in several public claims that widespread voting fraud had occurred and had led to Mr. Trump's defeat.
So this whole argument that she deferred to more experienced lawyers sounds kind of bogus.
The whole, the tears.
Right.
I'm so sad I
sorry.
got caught.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sad that I have to now plead guilty to what I actually did. And I'm so sad that perhaps I'll have to testify against the former president, or perhaps Rudy Giuliani would be the next one. Who's left? We had 18, right? 4 have now gone. So that means 14. And I don't know any other like major, attorneys in Trump's orbit type of folks. I'll have to look at the list that are still out there to be had.
Right.
The only ones that are left after Rudy Giuliani are the children. That's it.
And we know Republicans eat their children.
Yeah.
844-967-2789, 844-96 Stevens Point checking in. What kind of career prospects do Ellis, Powell, and Chesbro have now? They sold their souls to a traitor, and now they know they will never get the check. Oh, and by the way, there was 1.5-inch hail 2 hours ago in Marshfield. Okay.
Don't underestimate the power of a book deal.
Yes, I was just going to
Yes.
say.
Punditry,
Mhm.
laying low for a few years and coming back. There are so many stories of politicians and lawyers. I mean, Jenna Ellis was censured. She was not disbarred. She was censured. So essentially they said, not cool.
Right.
She didn't get
disbarred.
She assisted in possibly overthrowing an election, and she got censured. She will be fine because someone will come along and like her style and hire her for something else.
Well, won't they just throw her on Newsmax or, OAN or one of the other?
She'll probably,
I don't know that they'll have them anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if they ever pay their fines.
I bet you, I wouldn't be surprised if you get like a News Nation or even a desperate CNN.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, I could see CNN doing something.
I'd be totally fine to go the rest of my life without seeing Sidney Powell or the Pillow Guy or Cheese Bro or Jenna Ellis ever again. I mean, they were forced upon us. You know what? We didn't ask for these folks.
They were foisted upon us.
Right. No, we didn't want that. All of a sudden we got, the Pillow Guy. Like, who's this guy? And why is he going to see the president? Why does he have all that written down on his pad? What? I mean, the craziness, it was evident then to me anyway. I was like, wow, this is what?
Yep.
And they talked about it even during the J6 committee hearings, team crazy versus team normal. I mean, and team normal is, especially compared to crazy, but now we see the comeuppance and they're going to have to deal with that. I think Greg's right. I think, book deals, they'll be fine. They're going to worry about paying the rent, but Sidney Powell's still got a lawsuit against her personally, I believe, for the defamation for Dominion stuff.
Oh.
So she's still got some headwinds. I don't think Jenna Ellis was specifically involved, but I mean, Powell got up and said some wackadoo crazy stuff. I mean, right out front, loud and charged about Dominions that were obviously and ultimately false.
Well, and now one of her sources of fundraising for her legal defense fund, I think they're annoyed. I think it's going to be tough to get them to shell out at this point. If you want to check in on this, 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. We will be back right after the break. Stay with us. This is As Goes Wisconsin. You're listening on the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning and welcome to As Goes Wisconsin. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bry. Greg Bach is on the board. Devil's Advocate Dominic Salvia in studio with me. And we always love hearing from you at 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. We are talking about the latest Trump lawyer to do to flip like a flapjack, Dominic. Jenna Ellis in court this morning, pleading guilty that she lied.
No.
Essentially. Tearfully expressing regrets for having ever gotten involved in Donald Trump's efforts to stay in power. And of course, all the MAGA supporters are coming after her now in droves. For this reason, Jenna Ellis will always be known as a disloyal coward and a total scumbag.
But when she was lying, specifically, she pled guilty to a charge of aiding and abetting false statements and writings. And apparently, MAGA, they were fine. As long as she's aiding and abetting false statements and writings for their team, totally fine with it.
Yeah.
But if you admit to it and say that it's wrong and take your punishment, well, now you're a traitor and a coward and a wench, I believe.
A disloyal,
Loomer
a
said.
disloyal wench, a disloyal wench.
Sounds like right out of the Renaissance Fair.
Right.
And I guess what amazes me too is when Donald Trump was first elected, and I'm sure everyone will remember this, I hire only the best people, all the best people. I know I've been doing this all my life. I know who's good. I hire all the best people. And then one by one, they were a moron. They were idiots. They were the worst person in this job
They
ever.
were the coffee boy.
I never met him. I never saw him.
Don't
Who was
even
this
know him.
person? I've never taken 500 pictures with them ever. And they just buy that. But if that is accurate, isn't he just a terrible judge of character?
Yes. And as are the people who vote for him. And that's my concern. I mean, Donald Trump's going to be Donald Trump, but come on, electorate. I mean, wake up and look around and see what's happening. And if you're gonna continue to support the let's see, guilty to charge of aiding and abetting false statements and writings. Again, this is all it's a billboard in front of you all the time.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is open your eyes and accept it. They lied to you, and it sucks. I get it, man. That is you're a victim of that circumstance. It's an unhealthy relationship.
Yes.
But maybe it's time to try to get out of that.
And like you said, it's painful and it's hard it's hard to admit that you got conned.
Who wants to admit that they're a sucker in this
absolutely.
deal? No
and
doubt about it.
And I certainly feel for that. But you got to start looking around, like you said, Dom, and listening to other points of view, perhaps.
Well, and we have points of view, and everyone is entitled to their opinions, but you're not entitled to your own set of facts.
Exactly.
And the facts are 3 of these attorneys that were very dialed in with Donald Trump in this effort have pled guilty to lying and perpetuating fraud and aiding and abetting. I mean, hello, Wisconsin, Josh Call. I mean, I'd love to see some comeuppance for those who did the same thing here.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrew hit all the Trump delegates that were supposed to be for Trump, and of course ended up being the fraudulent delegates for Trump because of course he won. That's all a part of this plan. That's a result of this conspiracy.
Yes.
Created by what? Trump, Cheesebro, Eastman, Giuliani, and perpetuated by the Kraken lady and Jenna Ellis, because they get up there and, well, hey, I mean, I'm an attorney. This is an elite crack legal team.
Yeah.
And this is what we found. And we're going to tell you. And what do we have? We have Donald Trump even yesterday saying, well, we're going to release all this information next week. Yeah, I'm still waiting for the replacement for Obamacare that's coming in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And infrastructure week.
I mean, this is how they roll. So, I mean, I got to think at some point, they're going to, once the attorneys start, peeling off one by one, it's going to continue to happen. It's just not happening fast enough.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Catherine from Madison joining us on the phone. Good morning, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
Good morning. I was just calling about Jenna Ellis.
Yes.
And it occurred to me that I don't see, is wench supposed to be a bad thing? I didn't really think so. So I don't think I'd feel too bad about it.
Especially those people calling you that.
Yeah, yep. And the Renaissance Fair, right, full of wenches. I was calling, though, because I went into the bank today. I had a big $10 check that's been sitting around I got from Nielsen for, what radio stations I listen to. So I cashed the check at the bank, and I talked to the teller. And he said that his mother lives in some town I've never heard of in northern Wisconsin, and she's now getting civic media. And he said that he likes to listen to it, and he hears it up there now at her place.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Oh, Catherine, that's
I
great.
never heard of this town.
You've never.
And he didn't remember the name right away. I told him 92.7. He said, "Oh yeah, I know that thing." And he said he listens during drive time. And I was thinking, you think of drive time as a certain time of day, but people work all these different hours, different shifts, different days. Because I used to work in a hospital, and I had lots of different days off and different times.
Sure.
It seemed like there were people out and about all the time.
It's always drive time.
Oh, I can. Yeah, it's always drive time. So yeah, so I just thought I'd let you guys know. And thanks for mentioning Josh Call again too, Dom.
Yes.
He has got to get off his butt and do something.
I keep my fingers crossed that he's doing something that we don't know about. Can't comment on ongoing investigations and all that. But man, we see what's happening in Michigan. AG Nessel, she's going after him. We see what's happening in Georgia. I mean, this is fraud, and these folks were engaged in that conspiracy to commit fraud and to what? To overturn the election. I mean, this is some serious stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like, like you voted in the wrong precinct or something.
Right. Right.
I mean, they.
Yep.
This was not a good
it's
faith.
in black and white. They signed a paper.
Yeah.
I'm the legitimate elector, and they were not. It's right there in writing. I think some of them had their pictures taken and put it on Facebook or something. So, Jesus, they've got to get these guys. It's just crazy, and I can't understand why it would take so long. I really can't.
Well, like Tom said,
I just thought I'd give you a call.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Catherine. We really appreciate that.
Sure.
And thank you for helping us,
problem.
helping spread the word about civic media and what we're trying to do. And that's great to hear that someone in a unidentifiable Wisconsin northern town is listening to us. That's lovely. It's lovely. You can always check in as well, 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. Lynn from the 612, we were talking about why some Republican voters don't seem to be affected by any of the stuff that's going on. Fox News had never even told their audience about the $1 billion in fines they had to pay for Dominion.
Nope.
So they likely have no knowledge about these latest flips. And that texter's right. They don't want to look outside their own reality.
And I get that, that's with the way information can flow now, it's easy to stay in your silo, to stay in your lane, I think. But there's also the other side of that, and the opportunity is, well, you get to hear all sorts of other opinions on other things as well. So, it depends, I think, on a personality standpoint. And I would encourage all the megas and Republicans and conservatives out there who are nice and comfortable in the world that you live in. Maybe step outside of that, get a little uncomfortable. Put yourself in situations that make you a little uncomfortable, and absorb it. Empathize with other folks, and feel and react. Put some miles on. Read some books. I mean, there's some things to do, because the path that you're on right now, as evidenced by the attorneys around Trump, the people around Trump, what's happened to the Republican Party and the megas. Look how it's splintered. Look what's happening in the House. There's a problem there, and it's nothing that I can't fix that for them.
No, right.
All you can do is say, hey, here's what the facts are, and if you accept those facts and recognize that maybe you were being deceived, maybe you should accept that fact and vote like you were being deceived. Yes. Yeah.
From the 414, it's always Democrats. That's because Republicans are always on every medium possible, spreading their lies and misinformation. In my opinion, every week, if not more often, President Biden or a surrogate should get on national high visibility platforms and emphasize either the accomplishments of this administration or the insanity and corruption of the Republicans. Sort of a modern fireside chat, but it has to start now. And that goes back to last hour when Dan Schaefer was here from the recombobulation area, and we were talking about the great jobs numbers in Wisconsin and how that just never gets touted.
Well, to the caller, I mean, I don't mean to battle the caller or the texter, but the president's going all over the place making announcements all the time. It's just that the president going to a place and talking about jobs isn't the war overseas, isn't the speakership, it's those are not sexy enough to get covered. And that's the unfortunate thing, is you go on social media and his team is constantly posting about what's going on.
You're right.
It's just, you're fighting for that 24-hour news cycle for anything you can get. And unfortunately, the president talking about the great jobs, they're like, yeah, that's fine. He shook some hands, whatever.
Well, and I think too, and I was thinking about this when we were talking about Governor Evers and owning some of these wins and owning some of the good things. I just have he's so Wisconsin. Our governor would get up there and go, oh yeah, the jobs are good, but it was a lot of folks. It wasn't just me.
I didn't do it all myself.
I just don't. He's not that kind of guy where he'd go, yes, I did this and it was great. And aren't you all glad? That's just not who our Opelander is.
No, he's our sweet Opelander.
He is. 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. We do have news from the latest disarray from House Republicans. Apparently they have a nominee for Speaker.
Woohoo!
Is it me?
It is not you. It is not me.
Oh.
And it is not Dom.
Nope.
Representative Tom Emmer from Minnesota nominated today as House Speaker after 5 rounds of voting. Emmer beat Mike Johnson from Louisiana. Byron Donalds dropped out before the final round. He is not a favorite of the former president. Trump supporters have been very vocal opponents of Emmer because he did vote to certify the 2020 presidential election.
For shame. How dare he? I mean, 7 out of 9 of those candidates for speaker, Republicans,
Yes.
Voted not to certify
Yes.
the 2020. So we had a 22% chance that whoever comes out of this would at least recognize that the 2020 election was legitimate and voted to certify it. If nothing else, and I don't know anything about Mr. Emmer. I don't know nothing about his politics. He's a Midwesterner. That's great. He's from Minnesota. All right. But other than that, I'm assuming he's going to toe the Republican line. But at least he didn't vote to overturn democracy.
But he did sign on to that lawsuit in Texas, which sought to overturn the results in several states, including here.
He did.
So it was kind of a back end kind of trying to overturn the results. And this goes back to, again, trying to get...
What's your first name?
Trying to get through to Donald Trump supporters that... It's just so many lies.
So many lies. Here we go. Emmer, NBC reporting. Emmer wants to hold a full House vote this afternoon.
Wow.
This afternoon to elect him Speaker of the House. A representative told NBC News, no vote has been scheduled yet. Republicans have not sent any official guidance about when a vote might happen. Lamalfa, the congressman, said Republicans are conducting a roll call vote inside their private meeting. This will give Emmer a sense of who's opposed to him. He'll need a majority of the whole House, of course, to win. So he's looking to, looking to push.
Rush it through.
Yeah.
844-967-2789. Keith from Middleton. Good morning, Keith. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. How y'all doing this morning?
We're good,
Great,
thanks.
thank
How
you.
are you?
Hey, excellent. It's a beautiful day. A little too warm for me, though. Hey, so I'm really kind of hoping that that Hakeem Jeffries can gather some troops on the Democratic side and get Emmer over the 217. It's going to take that. There's no way he's going to have enough of the radical knuckleheads on the right to make it. We need to have a Speaker of the House right now. There's just no two ways about it.
Yeah.
But what are the Republicans going to give up for that, Keith?
Well, I think Emmer needs to make sure, or he needs to swear allegiance to not shutting down the government. And he needs to agree to the spending bill that was put together by Joe and some of the others this spring.
Hang on, Keith. We got to go to break. We're going to break right now, so don't go away. 844-967-2789. You're listening to As Goes Wisconsin. Stay with us. Yeehaw, and welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bry. Greg Bach is on the board. Dominic Salvia in studio with me. And we are always taking your calls and texts at 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. If you're watching on the live stream, you can always leave a comment there as well. Well, it looks like the GOP does have a nominee for Speaker of the House. Minnesota's Tom Emmer has come out as the winner so far.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Chicken dinner, but can he actually get all the votes he needs?
NBC News reporting just right now, 2 House Republicans say Emmer doesn't have enough support to win a speaker election on the House floor as the conference takes a private internal vote. Rep. Dan Muser, a Republican from Pennsylvania, told reporters, quote, there are some holdouts and estimated there are about 10 of them. He said he still expects a floor vote to take place later today. Asked about how many no votes there are for Emmer, Rep. Mike Waltz, a Republican from Florida, told reporters there are too many.
Dang.
Many.
Many,
lots of them. We still have Keith on the line from Middleton. Thank you for hanging on through the break, Keith. It will be interesting to see if Hakeem Jeffries does bring along enough Democrats to get Emmer seated as Speaker of the House.
Yeah, I think 25 would do it. I think you can cherry pick, and I think you can get a few in very solid districts to do that. There's no point in continuing on. I'm having just as much fun as you guys are watching the disarray. but it's time to get down to business and get some things done. And the first thing is they have to avoid a shutdown.
Yes.
So we have to get the spending bill.
But Keith, here's the thing, though, man. Why does it got to be 25 Democrats come over and vote for the majority? I mean, why don't we have 5 Republicans come over and vote for Hakeem Jeffries? You know what I mean? The math is against the Republic. Well, but why? Because you say it's not going to happen. But I would surmise that perhaps Hakeem Jeffries the Dems have no obligation to step in and save the Republicans from themselves.
It's not about saving the Republicans, guys. It's about saving the country.
So 5 Republicans should come over and vote for Hakeem Jeffries then, man. That's my point.
I agree with you. I'm pie in the sky. I 100% agree with you. That is absolutely the what it should be if we're all going to be adults in the room, but they are not going to be adults. And somebody has to be the adult in the room and get this stuff done. So I don't think that there's any way in heck that we're going to get anything other than avoiding a shutdown and spending bill passed. I know some people are saying, well, we need more representation on committees. We need more of this, more of that. That's not going to happen. It's just not. They're not there, and they never will be. Because you've got 15 to 20 to 30 of them that are so completely flipping nuts that it's not going to happen. So let's get what's done, what's best for the country done, and move forward.
I don't disagree with you, Keith. I really don't. But I do think there's some exhaustion with we have to be the better people again. Now we have to be the bigger person. But you're right. We're standing on a cliff with the shutdown just a couple of weeks away. The war with Israel and Hamas, the war of Russia's war against Ukraine. There are issues with the southern border. We still have problems with our healthcare system. There is a lot of stuff to get done. I just think it's this exhaustion of. I know.
Right.
But yeah, you're probably right. I guess somebody is going to have to step forward and be the bigger person.
The thing is, we can all wish for different things. We can, and my point is this: it's 2 parts. Okay. A large percentage of the Republicans right now want to continue this because they want to shut it down.
Yes.
They were elected by people who are anarchists. They are not politicians. They're anarchists. They're trying to destroy things and bring them back in their warped sense of patriotism or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? And the other thing is, guys, we're we're about 12 months away. And I'm very confident if this goes through, if they go ahead and put Emmert in with 15 to 20 Democratic votes, November of 24, the Republicans have no chance of maintaining the House at that point. Zero, none.
Well, we will find out if you're right. Really appreciate it, Keith. Thank you so much for checking in, and thank you for listening.
Have a great day, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
844-967-2789. Texter from the 262. Talk about a loss for Matt Gaetz if Emmer gets the speakership, because that means he went from an election denier in McCarthy to someone who actually thinks it was a legitimate election. So much MAGA winning.
So much winning.
And if the Dems voted in block for Emmer, would that send a message to the MAGAites that they don't matter as much as they thought? And would the MAGAs be awake enough to read the room? I
doubt it.
I wouldn't count on that. That seems a little overly optimistic.
There's just from a leveraged, practical standpoint, Hakeem Jeffries and the Dems, if they're going to engage in the adults and be the adults in the room, there's got to be a give and take, a quid pro quo. Perhaps they're not going to do it for nothing. Why would they?
Sure.
And again, I would reiterate my point. If it only takes, as Keith said, 20 Dems to come over and help, well, then it only takes 5 Republicans to come over and help the Dems elect their selection.
But I think all of the Republicans know that if they would do that, they will lose their jobs.
There was a live stream comment from Representative Minnesota Dean Phillips, released a statement on Twitter saying he would vote for Emmer, promised a few things.
He would vote present if Emmer promised a few things.
Vote present, sorry.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what Keith said. We need a guarantee they're not going to shut down the government. We need a guarantee that they're going to honor the deal that McCarthy made with President Biden. So maybe there's some negotiating room there, Dom.
So we need another guarantee on top of the false guarantee. You know what I'm saying? You can't trust them at their word. So you gotta get what, I don't know, immediately. Whatever the deal is, it's gotta be something that you can put in your pocket and walk out the door with. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If you're gonna promise me something in the future, no, thank you. I mean, we've seen how these Republicans have acted before.
Right.
I don't buy it. And I'd be very skeptical. The Dems should be very skeptical of any deal that pertains to something that'll happen down the road. Don't worry about it.
I heard Tom Emmer promise to pinky promise. So that,
yeah, okay. So
then you can rely on that, and it's all going to be good to go. All right. That is going to wrap it up for us today. You want to stay close for Todd Alba, who is coming your way next at noon across the Civic Media Radio Network. And don't forget, tomorrow morning at 10:30, the one, the only, the Kristen Bry will be here with us, and she'll be on StreamYard so you can see, hopefully, baby Francis, the world's most perfect child. Have a great day and stay tuned for Todd. Thank you so much for calling. Thank you for texting. Thank you above all for listening. Without you, we're nothing. Have a great day. This is As Goes Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.